In this episode of Voice of the Sea, we're at Waialeʻe on the north shore of Oʻahu.
Mahalo to all of you for being here today. People in the community were concerned as to what was going to happen with this place. So long story short, the North Shore Community Land Trust gathered up the community members to host a series of meetings to kind of get feedback from the community. And what we learned is that people wanted to see protection of those natural resources, the soil, the water, the plants and animals. They wanted to see sustainable agriculture. This is agricultural land. So producing food for the community, honoring our traditional cultural practices, our Kanaka Maoli cultural practices that went on here, such as the loʻi kalo, the loko, the weaving, the crafts, the arts, the music, as well as doing all of that in cooperation with keiki and people of all ages to learn and to collaborate as a community. We have the snacks by the banner. Help yourself at any time. Snacks, water, stay hydrated. We have tabis and gloves for you folks to use. The lunch that we'll be sharing includes kalo that was grown here. We're gonna start with planting kalo, with canoeing kalo.
Waialeʻe is home to both a loʻi kalo and a unique loko vai, a freshwater fish pond known as Kalou. Together, the loʻi kalo and loko vai provide harvestable food as well as habitat for native plants, fishes, and birds. 30 acres of the Waialeʻe wetland is currently owned by the University of Hawaiʻi and managed by the North Shore Community Land Trust, who is overseeing rehabilitation, including the removal of invasive species, restoration of native plants and animals, and rejuvenation of abundance. We join the Waialeʻe Lako Pono restoration effort on a workday, talk to researchers, project coordinators, and community leaders, all working together to restore health and holistic wealth for the local community. First, we check out the variety of kalo being grown at Waialeʻe.
At one time, Waialeʻe in the 1940s, 1950s was producing 1,000 pounds of poi per week for the school, for the community. And we last year were able to produce 1,000 pounds of kalo in the entire year. But we're working our way to get back to where we were and beyond that. I feel so lucky to get to work with kalo for my work with others and to share this love with others. So here you can see quite a few of the varieties that we have growing right now on this side of Waialeʻe. Mana ulu is a very popular variety. I really love the taste and the kalo itself. The color is quite brilliant. It is really yellow like the ulu fruit, the breadfruit. And you can see here the sort of yellowish of the leaves even, and the pico or the center point of the leaf, and the also reddish tinge. Whereas here on the mana pico, not referring to the mana or the branching of the kalo itself, but it's referring to the branching of this coloration on the leaf at the pico, hence the name mana pico. And you see this almost bright splatter of paint that happens at the pico of the leaf, whereas the rest of the ha is rather green without much coloration. And you see here some of the damage from the rose beetle, but we see a spider that's perhaps helping to take care of some of those beetles. The kalo itself still very healthy in this environment. Here we have Pololu, and Pololu is the name of a valley on the island of Hawaiʻi, and Polu is blue. I'm not sure if there's a similarity there, but the leaf itself is a bluish leaf, and this variety is very popular for its taste. It's a very hard kalo, which can make it good for poi. We have ula ula here, and one of the defining characteristics, ula ula moano in this case, is the really red or ula ula ha or stem and stalk of the plant. The moano, ula ula moano, refers to the moano fish, which is a very red fish. A lot of our kalo varieties have done well, but over time we'll find the ones that seem to do the best, and we'll probably be growing more of those varieties, whereas others will try to keep that diversity but probably grow on a smaller scale. We also hope that instead of one mound of pololu to one mound of mana ulu, in the future it'll be there's one field of pololu, there's one field of manaulu.
If we were to look a year, 2 years, 3 years, what would we come here and see?
What we're gonna be doing a lot more of is transforming our uplands that are currently and used to be pastures for cattle into agroforestry. We're gonna be transforming our facilities into certified kitchens and having adequate agricultural tools, machinery to handle our day-to-day operations. And I also think though that the future hopefully holds a lot of people on the land, a lot of people having fun, a lot of people growing food, sharing with one another. Unlike some farms today, it's actually going to be quite a large community that's required and involved in the cultivation of kalo, of ulu in the uplands, and all kinds of other stuff that we have growing here. And then just having lots of events that make people feel like they're a part of community.
One of the coolest things about being out at the loʻi and the loʻi is that it's an extension of the classroom, really place-based. I think sometimes culture-based learning gets marginalized over academics, and then more recently social-emotional. And I was thinking, like, what better way to address social-emotional needs and learning than getting out and doing work, right, out in the land, feeling the cool breeze. And so it's really exciting to see the kids, right? It gives them another opportunity besides doing book work, right, and being in the classroom. I am currently the principal at Kalou Elementary School. Born and raised in Hauʻula, went to Hauʻula Elementary School, graduate of Kamehameha Schools, Kapalama. And yeah, I just love connecting with my Hawaiian culture. I brought my 2 sons out today, and they both are at Kapalama attending school. And yeah, I'm a parent as well. My daughter's a student at Kalou Elementary School. And I just spent a lot of time being a part of the association and the community efforts out on Ko'olauloa.
And your students are going to be coming on a regular, ongoing basis to Malama Aina?
Yes, so that's one of the cool things, right? So nearby the school, how can I not take advantage of the location? And as when we're looking out right now and you're seeing everybody, working in the Aina, just thinking about there's so many aspects of learning besides academics.
So actually during class time, they get to come to Waialeʻe?
Yes. We want to bring them out. This is an extension of the classroom, extension of the learning. And I just know the power that kids have using their hands, right? We always talk about hands-on learning, project-based learning. And I mean, what's better than actual restoration of a cultural site?
Leona, tell me how you came to be one of the partners here at Waialeʻe who comes all the time, always helping out.
Oh, I just care about, what happens right in my neighborhood. It's very rewarding for me because I care about this, I care about the land, and I would like to see it improve to feed the community.
Do you have a vision for what it will look like in a couple years?
Oh, a couple years. I would like to see it more fruitful. I love flowers, so I'll be bringing in a lot of flowers. But I would like to do flowers even for, plants that make the uli-ulis, the hula instruments. You can grow all that here, It's just a teaching process of how to turn it over to something useful, yeah? And I would like to do that part,
Yeah.
on the arts and crafts and stuff. Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
It's always been an area that my family gathered a lot for 4 generations, yeah. As we're growing up, this is where we learn how to swim, how to play with each other. As a child, we would swim out here, we would play out here, catch crab at night.
What are the challenges that you are facing in the restoration?
The challenge in everything that you try to do, it's always about money. I'm not gonna dress it up to make it look nice or to skirt around it. It's always about the money. But yeah, that's the challenge.
Describe for me your vision. What will Waialeʻe look like when the restoration is complete, or in a couple years from now as this work continues?
Eventually, when more of this has been restored, I would like to see the local schools, the area schools, be able to come out here for the weekend. They can be taught how to fish, the diving. You can utilize this whole entire classroom, right? And they can go ahead, gather their own foods, cook their own foods, and the teaching is endless, right? I mean, that's you know, I don't have a whole bunch of money to leave to any kind of foundations. This is the legacy for many out here. Mm-hmm. You know, this is something we're gonna pass on to the following generation so that they can learn to care for their families. Our vision, our shared vision, is coming to light now. So that's amazing. I mean, you cannot help but smile every time when you drive by now, you know, so that's a good thing.
The University of Hawaii's Sea Grant College program focused on Hawaii's coasts and its communities through sustainable development, safe seafood supply, sustainable coastal tourism, hazard resilience, and healthy coastal ecosystems. Hawaii's Sea Grant.
You're watching Voice of the Sea. We're at Waialeʻe checking out Kalou, a traditional Hawaiian freshwater fish pond, which is part of the 30-acre Waialeʻe Lako Pono restoration effort.
This is Kalou. It's a local vai, or a freshwater fish pond. And it is a very, very special place in Waialeʻe on the north shore of Oʻahu. And my students and I come out here a lot to do some water quality research, and it's just one of our favorite places.
What do you mean about water quality research? What does that mean?
Sure. So we're really interested in looking at the health of the ecosystem, and one of the ways we can do that is looking at the water. So we can look at nutrients, which are important for productivity of the system, right, and the food web. And we also look at things like E. coli, which can be a bacteria that's an indicator of fecal contamination, as well as we look for waterborne pathogens, like the pathogen that causes leptospirosis.
Are you at a point where you're starting to find things in your research that you can share with me?
Sure. I mean, I think we're just starting to learn about the different environments here, the local vai over here, and also the loʻi behind me. Just learning like some basic differences in the water chemistry and the water quality that they're measuring. Like we find that the local vai is very groundwater fed. There's a lot of nitrate coming into the system. And so we've done some experiments to really look at that. And so I think that's really interesting. And we want to think about that since algae really are the foundation of the food webs and for these fish, right? And so the other thing we're learning, like the loʻi habitat's different. There's a lot more turbidity, right? You have these like suspended sediments kind of tossed up. And so it's kind of a completely different habitat. And it's been just really interesting to learn more about it. So that's some of the initial findings. It's also some of the best water quality I've seen on Oʻahu, which is really exciting. And I'm happy for the people of Waialeʻe. So.
Can you talk to me about what lives in this local vai?
Sure. So there are a lot of amazing endangered Hawaiian water birds out here. There's the ʻAlekeokeo with the white sort of shield, and then the ʻAlaiʻula that you'll see a bunch with the red sort of beak. And so those are really fun. I love watching the ʻAlekeokeo up here because they do so much diving. In terms of fish, there's lots of invasive tilapia, but also ʻōopu. And I think we're really interested about how they got in the system. Right now it seems to be very freshwater, and it doesn't seem to be much of a connection to the ocean. So I think we're really excited to learn more about the fish that are here, right? And where they came from, how old they are. And I think that's really important to the future of the local vai as a source of fish for the community.
Tell me a little bit about your role in studying water quality here at Waialeʻe.
So I'm a recent graduate from HPU, and I'll be a post-baccalaureate researcher funded by Sea Grant. So I'm the person who's out here, who's in the raft, getting down and dirty, taking all of the samples and measuring the water quality day to day.
And what is it that you're looking to discover?
So really, when we kind of first started here at Kalou, we didn't know a ton about the system. We know that it's spring-fed, but we weren't sure about, the temperature, the salinity, does it connect to the ocean? So I'm just kind of here to uncover those mysteries. So we kind of take these water quality parameters and we've just kind of been averaging them and kind of noting, what's it like after the rain? What's it like when it's sunny? What's it like in different seasons? To just kind of try to make a baseline map of what the different water quality parameters are like year-round.
And what will you be doing in this next part of your research?
So I'm actually really excited about this next part. So we're gonna capture and measure and try to identify the species of a lot of the fish in this fish pond through various capture methods to just kind of see what's here, see what species of fish are here, see how big they are, see how old they are. So that's kind of will be my role, is figuring out what kind of fish are here and how many there are.
And do you have any ideas ahead of time?
So they've done a couple of fish surveys here before, so we know there's a lot of invasive tilapia, so I'm expecting to find a lot of tilapia. But there's also maybe some ama-ama, maybe some ava, and we've actually seen some oʻohu, which is really exciting, really interesting, so it'll be nice to discover maybe what else is here and if there's a great abundance of those native fish. The vision for Kalou at the beginning when they started restoring it was a very community-centric process. They had all the visioning workshops to kind of see what the community wanted out of this land. Once we have a little bit more data and more to share with the community, we'll take, the data, we'll make it into graphs so that the public can understand what's already in the pond and can kind of help guide us moving forward. Do we want to stock it? Do we want to, cull the invasives? Do we want to just leave it how it is and just appreciate it for what it is? So I'm just here to collect the science, but the people of the community are really the ones who we're hoping to have decide the future of Kalou.
And we can maybe take a look at some of your sampling tools.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So our main tool that we use, this is our YSI. This is gonna measure all of our water quality parameters. There's 9 parameters. So you just dip this in the water and then the screen will read off what what the different water quality parameters are. Another thing that we do is we collect actual water samples. So we have this water collection device with our nice little bottle on the end. We'll dip that in to get a water sample. And then from that water sample, we can do the turbidities. This is our turbidimeter right here, nice little turbidimeter. So we'll take our water from our bottle, we'll put it into one of these little vials. When you open it up, put it in, press measure, and it'll give you the turbidity, which is essentially kind of how dirty or clean the water is from a visual perspective. And then the last thing that we kind of use to measure the water quality is our stadia rod right here. So we'll take that out on the boat, we'll stick it off the side, and that one goes into the bottom, and that's measuring the depth of the water at that specific point.
We are looking for a few heroes, mentors, trailblazers, innovators, a passion to change lives, spark curiosity, open hearts, and awaken minds, help students answer the question, who am I? This could be your calling, but this is no job. It's the journey of a lifetime. Be a hero. Be a teacher.
You're watching Voice of the Sea. We're talking with Waialeʻe Lako Pono Restoration Project Leader, Kavela Ferrant.
Wai is fresh water, and this is the main freshwater feature of Waialeʻe. Le'e is the fully mature Opunakea goby. We have 5 types of Hawaiian stream gobies, freshwater gobies. Opunakea is one of those varieties. This, to me, is what makes Waialeʻe what it is, this area right here. All of the water here is from our groundwater aquifers. There are intermittent streams and drainages that will run in, but the 90% of the water comes from underground. So it's pure, fresh spring water from our aquifer. A lot of it bubbles up in Kalou fish pond, but there are also other springs. Even in this area, we felt cold spots. There's still a lot more to learn about exactly where all the sources are, but it all pretty much comes from underground. So it's really pure, clean water. Waialeʻe is an example of a place that just has a little bit of everything. It has the ocean, it has this fresh water, it has these mountains, it has the coastal plain, and it all comes together in kind of a compact package. One of the challenges is that the majority of the marsh is too deep to actually plant the kalos. We've been focusing along the edges, which is convenient, but kind of being able to better regulate that water flow is kind of one of our challenges. I feel fortunate to be a part of a community that has a history of people protecting the land. Here on the north shore of Oʻahu, there is a couple generations of community organizers who fought hard to protect swaths of land here. I do hope that through this as an example, we can set that precedent that more and more community groups can be effective stewards and co-managers of publicly owned lands, because there is quite a bit of publicly owned land, state-owned land, federal land, city land here in Hawaii that's just sitting vacant, just like how this place was sitting. For the people that know their places and know that a place is just being neglected, being left to the side, the wayside, research that, find out what the deal is with that. Because even if it's private, there might be a private landowner that's willing to partner if the land's just sitting vacant.
For other community groups that are embarking on journeys like this, do you have advice or lessons learned?
First and foremost, have a relationship with your places. And you probably already have that relationship for the places that you love. And then have a relationship with your community, you know, the people around you, because you can't do it alone. There's no way that one person or even a few people alone could have done something like this. And I think more and more our public officials and the powers that be are more supportive of this type of work, but also realizing that they can't effectively manage all of the resources that they are tasked to manage. So I think that this model of community-based partnership to steward public lands, or perhaps it's private lands, is going to be beneficial for everybody. We have, started to partner with various faculty in the University of Hawaiʻi across the different departments: engineering, architecture, anthropology, ethnic studies, Hawaiian studies. The engineering and architecture students have made a lot of conceptual designs for future facilities, kind of looking at some of the site planning and even some small-scale build-outs of experimental structures. The ethnic studies and anthropology students have conducted a very powerful oral history field school here at the site, so interviewing the kupuna, the elders who've lived here for their whole lives and have a very strong relationship with the place, and hearing the history of this place from their mouths.
You ain't gonna sell nothing to nobody. We usually trade, If they got something, then, we got something they want, So we just trade and we share. Yeah. So even like today still, because if you grew up with that system in you, you still do it.
We're still at the beginning, but every time that, we have a work day or a big event and it pushes us to put up one more tent or build one more porta potty or invite one more school, then it's just that much closer to this notion of what we're talking about. And then eventually we'll be planting agroforestry and we'll be snorkeling out on the reef and stuff. Yeah, whatever it is, big or small, it doesn't have to be grand, but it just has to be what you love.
If people want to sign up for a community work day, is that something they can do? Absolutely,
yeah. So probably the easiest way is to go to the North Shore Community Land Trust website, www.northshoreland.org. That will give you the most up-to-date information on how to sign up for this project as well as some of our other projects.
You can volunteer at Waialeʻe. Sign up today to learn, grow, and help reach the shared vision of Waialeʻe Lako Pono. To learn more about Waialeʻe Lako Pono restoration, go to voiceofthesea.org. Follow us on social media at Voice of the Sea TV. Mahalo for watching Voice of the Sea. Exploring Our Fluid Earth is the dynamic curriculum developed by the University of Hawaii's Curriculum Research and Development Group. The award-winning Fluid Earth and Living Ocean textbooks are now interactive and online. New activities, updated content, and a teacher community. Exploring Our Fluid Earth is now freely available. Find out more at exploringourfluidearth.org.